Hello again, I'm Larry Hamilton. Welcome to my YouTube painting channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to do a oil painting that I was supposed to be doing live and broadcasting live, but I had a computer failure of my main streaming computer, and will not be able to do this live today. But I'm going to do the painting anyway, and I will get it edited and uploaded so you can see it. So it's a painting of a barn that my nephew took a photo of when we were in Montana a few weeks ago. And I thought this would be a good exercise in maybe talking a little bit about two-point perspective. And so I thought, since I had that, it was a beautiful sunset evening. So I'm going to try to make this a sunset scene with a barn sort of in the middle of the painting. And I hope you like it. Let me talk just a little bit about the sketch here and about the scene itself, and a little bit about two-point perspective. If you have studied art for any time at all, you know that when you're doing buildings of any kind, you have to deal with something called two-point perspective. Sometimes you have three-point perspective, but the idea is that you take a scene like this and you imagine a point of reference which is supposed to be your eye level, the point where the horizon is, or where this is your eye level here. And this is where you would be looking at it if you were taking this photo. So you pick some imaginary points out here, typically off the canvas because our canvases are fairly small, and you draw these imaginary lines from that point to the top of your object, whatever it is, a barn, a house, or whatever. And that it helps you get the angle of these lines right. They all need to be going toward this perspective point out here, this vanishing point on the left, so that you'll get these angles right if you have this other place to align your drawing with. So I have done kind of a rough sketch here to show you what I mean, so that line, on anything that's on the building that faces this way, faces toward this point on the left, will have these angles on them that all go toward this. So the lower down it is, the sharper the angle; higher it is, the sharper the angle this way. Conversely, all the planes of the building that are facing this other point on the right side, they have angles that will go to this vanishing point. So the roof on this barn here should go to that vanishing point. Should be actually a little more angled than I show it right here. All the angles on this side of the barn, including this attachment that sticks out here, all have the same place that they go to. Anything down here, if I were to put a structure of some kind down here, it would have angles this way. So, and I've probably read about it. You can always find things on perspective, but I thought I would show you how I developed this particular painting and this particular photograph, actually. And did a rough sketch, which I typically do. So let me get that out of the way, and I'll get us zoomed in on our photograph. Not our photograph. You see the photographs at the top. I have a photograph that's close in on the left side, and on the right side I have one that's way far out. This was actually taken as the sun was setting, and you probably can't see it in this photo here. I'll overlay one that you can see, but there's the moon up there at the top, and the sun is setting, so there's a beautiful cloud. So I'm going to try to capture some of that in the sky here, and then I'm going to try to capture the barn up close so you can see it. So let me zoom in, and I have my sketch already started. You can see where I've used some construction lines here to actually draw this barn so that it actually terminated in some points over here on the left side of my easel. So you can see I've got the angles just about right. So that's really what happens in many artists' renderings when they try to paint objects that are like a barn or a building, something like that, some sort of an architectural element. They actually have you can tell if they have not used proper perspective because it doesn't look right. So to make it look right, think about that. If you can remember to think about the angles when you're painting that angle, make sure that it goes to a vanishing point out here. That's always hard because the vanishing point in almost all paintings that artists do like this are off the page, off the canvas. So it's you have to use some of your imagination. So what I have here is my typical gray gessoed canvas, and I have used my white, charcoal white pencil to draw this with. So I'm not quite finished with my drawing. I have to come in, I'm going to put in a few more marks here to indicate this bank of trees. There's a whole bank of trees that runs behind this barn here. So I'm going to try to mimic that and make these come over this way like that. And then there's even the mountain. The mountain behind it is pretty far back in the distance. And so I will be making it sort of go this way, coming down here like this. And then there's even another mountain back here like that. So that's really all the drawing I'm going to do now. I've already done the barn, and I can erase some of these marks in here so they don't confuse us. And I'm going to use my kneaded eraser and basically take these out, and so that I can paint over it without too much trouble. I don't want to have a lot of these lines hanging around, but the ones I need for the barns and the buildings I'm going to leave in. This is sort of the horizon line here, so that's about where my eye level would be in taking this photo. So let me get some of these out of here, and we'll have the sketch. By the way, when you get ready to paint this, the sketch will be on my website. I try to put them out there, linked to the videos. If you go to my website and you look for free YouTube videos, on that page where all my videos are, there's links for all my videos out there, all 70 some plus videos. You'll find next to the video there'll be a little link that says sketch. So you can find the sketch, you can download it, you can print it out, you can use it as a template. However you like to use sketches, you can use it for that. So anyway, I think now I've got that pretty well isolated, and I think we're about ready to go here. I want to go in and explain to you the paints again, and make sure this is tight. So let's get ready to go here. So let me look at show you the paints again, and I'm trying for the first time another little experiment here. I'm using my overhead camera. I think maybe you may know I have an overhead camera now that I've been using for my watercolors, and so I'm going to use it for my oils today and see how that works. So I don't have the glass mounted on the below my canvas here, and that makes it a little easier, I think. At least the paint's not running all over the place like it has been. And I'll go through the colors with you here very quickly. They are titanium white, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red. Those are all Bob Ross paints. And then I have a Grumbacher ultramarine violet over here. So that's the set of paints. And the brushes I'm using. I have a few Bob Ross brushes. I have a few. Have the big knife here. I have a little fan brush. I have a rigger, and I have a large blending brush. If I want to use that, I'll probably use these other brushes I've got from Treckle. I have a couple flats and a couple of filberts, 3 filberts, a couple flats. And you can see there, Treckle, TREKELL.com, if you want to try to buy them. They're not cheap, but they are really good brushes. And I have a 16, 10, and a number 6 filbert. I have a number 12 and a number 4 flat. So I have those brushes. I may not use all of them, but I will use some of them. And with that said, I think I want to get going, make sure my cameras are all lined up and everything's all zoomed in. I think you can see sometimes I don't have, I cut off the top of my canvas, as I've been noticing when I zoom in too far. So hopefully I've got it aligned. And I also have a little bit of this Winsor Newton product called Liquin, and I'm using it primarily to give myself some area to paint very fast and smooth. So I'm going to have a little paper plate here that's got some of this liquid on it. I'm going to put a little bit out on canvas right now to just get started. I'm going to put it up here where the sky is going to go. It'll help this sky go on very smoothly. You may remember in some of my paintings I've been using the Bob Ross liquid white, which works very well up here too. But I've also been using Liquin periodically and been able to get some good success with it. It slows down the drying time. That's really what liquid white does. It slows down the drying time. You can buy different kinds of mediums that will speed up the drying time. But in this particular painting now, I want to get some sort of this orangey pink background that is so pretty in a sunset. This particular scene had this sort of orange color in it, and we'll see what happens up here in the sky. It's a beautiful little color, and it needs to be thicker than that probably. So I'm just using the same big brush here and just sort of whopping in some of this color that it's going on very smoothly, very nice, very thin down. So I'm mixing yellow ochre and a little bit of my cad red and white, and picking up this nice soft color here, as you might see in a sunset. I'm exaggerating the color of the sky. Actually, in the photograph had more blue in it, but I want it to look more reddish. I'm going to put some clouds in there and some shadows, shadows under the clouds. Now that I think about it, I probably could have I just put some in here right now. There is this gray background I have on here has some, it comes through when I paint. You can see the background kind of coming through there a little bit. So I'll highlight those clouds in a minute with some shadows underneath them there. Okay, that's a pretty good start. There's a whole string of clouds there. And in the full panorama of this that was zoomed way back, you can actually see the moon setting up there. I think I pointed that out to you a minute ago. That the moon was up there, and you could actually see the moon already. Okay. If I put some blue in that, it's probably going to start turning green a little bit, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to leave it like that for a while and just let it set and see if I can put in, maybe just might as well see if I can get some black in there now. Pick up a little of this Indian or midnight black and touch in a few of these things that make it look like shadow under there. Something like that. This midnight black, when you thin it down and add white to it, it actually gets a sort of more of a purplish color, I guess. All right, this is a little too dark right there. Okay, something like this. So I want to see clouds on top with some shadows underneath. And the closer they are to the sun is actually coming from my right. I have to remember that because the photograph I have of the barn, the sun was actually coming. It was a morning shot, and instead of a sunset, so the barn was actually getting sun from the other side. So I have to turn where the sun is around. I have to change the the sky, and got to do all that thinking while I'm painting here, as well as run my cameras and talk to you. A lot of fun. I enjoy it. Okay, let's clean this brush out. Now we're going to go back and pick up this color that's in the background here. We're going to put in these background trees. I'm going to get some of my Prussian blue. Got some blue and some maybe put a little sap green in there to kind of make sure that I get the green color in it. And see how that looks. It may need to be darker. If it is, I'll add some more of this black to it. Okay, so here I'm using this big 16-inch filbert brush here. Okay, so I'm going to just pop in some background trees here. I'm laying this on the side and letting the top of the filbert sort of paint whatever comes off. And I'm just going to try to mix it up, make it some dark colors, light colors. Put some blue in there and let it mix with that green. This is a whole mountain load of trees, and there's some evergreens in there, there's some deciduous trees in there, and there's actually some color. I think I wanted to make some color change in here. I want to make it look more like a fall scene, and I forgot that already. So let's start putting in some fall colors. I got some other greens that are going to go in down here. Just throw some of that in here and whatever, clean my brush out a little bit. Leave that, and let's go back and I'll get my other filbert here and start picking up some sort of orange colors. I'm going to use this yellow ochre and a little bit of red again. Start getting some colors that are some green going to red, that sort of color. We'll start putting in a few of those, if I can get them in here. Almost too bright. Get some more yellow ochre in there. Okay, here we go. So I'm starting to make it fall now, a fall scene. There's some, usually in early fall you see a mixtures of greens and you see mixtures of yellow, and when the peak viewing season in fall is usually has quite a mixture of colors. To me, that's the kind of fall colors I like to see. I like to see them with still some green in them. I don't like to see them all yellow or all orange. I like to mix it up. So I'm just sort of painting in this background row of trees back here. Picking up some green here and there, picking up some red, picking up some orange. Change the color. I want to come back and put some more green back in. I got my other brush here. I'll just come back and pop in a few more. When I do this, when you see these colors on top of each other and you see them changing, or if you can tell they're overlaying each other, it gives the painting depth. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Get some 2 or 3 levels, 2 or 3 layers, and create depth. We talked about perspective on the barn, this 2 points perspective here for drawing the architectural elements, but you also have, in a painting like this, since it's a landscape, you have aerial perspective, which means things that are back in the distance have a lighter value and they get darker as they come forward. And that helps fool the eye into thinking this has depth in it. So that's what I want to try to simulate with some of these background trees here. They might be a little bit too dark already, but so I'm just going to pop in some mixtures of colors here. And come back and get some more of the yellows, ochres, reds. I want to just kind of blend them out a little bit, make sure they're not overly gaudy or overly dark back there. I want them to be sort of fading as they go back. If they're too prevalent, they look like they're too close, and so I want to make sure I have a distinction between those and what's close. Over here I'm going to have some more trees. These are going to be slightly, let me see, I'm going to get another filbert here. I'm going to pick these up and make them just even so, a little of this purple in there, and get more of a hazy color back there in the background for those. See what that looks like. That's almost too light. You can't quite tell what that is. Let me put a little of this color in there, mix it up. Let's use this brush, and now I'll come back with this purple and white. Give ourselves a good mixture of stuff going on back here in this area. Because that's lighter now, because it's sort of purplish and bluish in nature, it's the color that's starting to come through anyway. It's going to look like it's further away. So I'm dealing with aerial perspective when I'm painting. Atmospheric perspective, some people call it atmospheric. Aerial, same idea. Means the same thing to me, and I would use those terms interchangeably. Maybe put a touch of blue in there. That blue is too strong. Okay. Okay, so I'm just kind of covering the canvas here. This is not a block in, this is pretty much a finished work back there. I'm not going to do much more than just sort of finish it off with sometimes I come in and do a big block in and then come back and go over it again, but I think this is going to be pretty well finished. All right, so that looks like that's further away because of the color, and the value is lighter. Okay, and I may want to pop in just a few other colors in there to kind of show that it's not totally all. There is some color change going on back there too. Very lightly, very subtle. Okay, and then just sort of merge it and blend it in. All right, I'm starting to get that look. Even got almost some fogginess looking down here in the bottom with this, in this area here. Okay, let's keep going with this background set of trees, or middle ground set of trees, I guess, I'm working on right in here. Pick up some green and blue, mix them together. Okay, so that's my layer that's in the middle ground. Finish this off in here. A bit more. Too much. Pick up some white. There's what I need. And maybe even some cad yellow right in there. I have a monitor here behind me that shows what would be streaming out to the video if my streaming computer was working. So I can kind of turn around and check and see what this thing's looking like, and helps me because it's a larger screen and I can actually see what it looks like on camera. Okay, so that's not looking like the photograph too much at all. The sky is different, the background's a little different. So now I'm going to come in and put in another layer of trees and in this area here. And this will be darker, and so I have to make sure that I get it darker because these are closer to us, and by the rules of atmospheric perspective, they have to be darker. So I'm going to start putting in some much darker values here. And I'm going to come back now and lay in some of the oranges and yellows in here because I want to make sure I have those in here as well. I'm not painting big strokes with this brush, folks. I'm just using these bristles and letting them sort of push up. And it tops, whatever the top of this brush is leaving on the canvas, that's what I'm getting. Okay, let's go back and start picking up some of the yellows and oranges here, ochres and reds. Start getting a mixture in my brush. Kind of a loose mixture. I'm not trying to get it all to one color because I like to see the other colors. See it mix on the brush, on the canvas. Okay. These are having to be brighter and more paint, thicker paint. Okay, so as long as I can make those look darker as they come forward, at least have some darker layers in there. You see the colors I have. It'll look like it's coming forward. All right, let me see here. Let me get a little more dark. Over the back of this barn here, there's some it's almost blue. I outline this barn. Okay, now I'll come back and pick up some of my other colors here, my yellows and oranges. Put in some ochre and yellow in there, start making it look like there's some color change going on. But still leaving that nice dark layer behind the barn so that it's pretty obvious that it's a different layer in there. Over here I'm going to pop in a few more darks. Actually, I want to outline this little job here. This filbert brush has a nice rounded top on it. It makes a very interesting shape. It looks like deciduous trees, the tops of deciduous trees. And if I turn it sideways, I can get a little point on it. Makes it look like it might be an evergreen. So, let's see, I'm going to come down to about the bottom of this barn is where the grass starts coming in. So, try to get that all filled in here. There's another little shed right here of some sort. Good room for him. Over here, let's see, I think I'm going to get this has a little flat brush, and I'm going to come along. It's got a nice sharp edge on it, so I can sort of paint right along here and outline that barn. I got that barn, I got this tree. I mean, not the tree, but the this other shed. I'll make sure I have this color back in there. Comes down over here as well. Like this, outlines this other little shed. So I'm doing what I would call in watercolor painting, negative painting. I'm painting around objects that are, it's going to help define the edges of them so you can see what they are. And give me a nice sharp edge there. And that sort of stuff. So starts turning the grass out here, getting some other colors in it, picking up some yellows and so I'm just putting in my all right, so you're seeing some buildings there, and you're seeing some nice color change in the background. And I'm going to come back now with my yellows and ochres and reds, and I'll lay in a few more trees in here that start having this color change in them. I don't have all dark trees back in there, but I want to have something dark up close to the barns, these buildings here. So that's why I'm trying to do that for you. But every time I do this, I show you another layer. And so I'm really getting some interesting color patterns here. At least it looks like that on the TV screen. All right. It's going to look like that barn's all nicely nestled inside a bank of trees. Spent a lot of time on these trees, but this is a lot of the painting. This is 2/3 of the painting probably is this background and middle ground. So let's keep going here. Make sure this sort of sticks up and it's very obvious this is in front. Comes down even further. I think I'm going to get my, whoops, wrong brush. I'm going to get my little bitty flat here that's got a nice sharp edge on it and see if I can sort of outline this roof again here. It's going to come in like this. Okay, so I get that outlined with a fine brush, and I can come back and put in my other trees and that. I actually used the wrong brush for that, but that's why I have a thing here I can wash them out in. All right, let's go here. Let's put some more of these oranges and yellows. Pick up a little more white. Ochre. Actually echoing the color in that sky just slightly with these colors, because it's the same. It is the same color. It's just mixing it with greens in here that's making it change its look. I want this to be more orangey. It's almost too bright over there, but with oil paints, it's not a problem. You can come back and go right over it and change it up. I want it to be somewhat dark down here. These trees are standing vertically here, so they will have some dark. Okay, so I have a lot of interesting color and movement in this thing. I need some more up here, I think. I see gray canvas sticking through. Make sure I cover all the canvas. Put a few more spots in here like that. And pick up some yellows maybe, if I could get some pure yellow in there. Starts to area over here. Okay, now getting very close there to ready to work on my. I think I got some really bright grasses back there. Plant some. Make it a little brighter even. All right, so where are we? I think I want to put in a few trees in here in this mix and sort of show you some trunks. So I'm going to use my scraper here. This so this is just sort of letting you see that there's a lot of trees back in here. Probably it's very hard to see that on camera, I'm sure, but so you might be able to see that. It makes, when I scrape that paint out, it shows the dark canvas or the gray canvas underneath it, and basically you have looks like tree trunks back there, and I don't want them to all look like they've been added on top, so I'm going to come back and blur some of them out so you can't quite see that it went from that I scraped it all the way from the bottom to the top, but so that's kind of the idea. Neat trick. Okay, stop. I want to stop and take a look at that, step back and evaluate. Make sure I'm getting a nice looking fall scene. Probably got just a little bit too much dark here on the right. Maybe you want to just sort of hit that with some other trees in there to sort of make it. I don't want it to be darker than anything else because I don't want you to spend a lot of time looking over there. I want to try to blur this out as much as I can so that it's not, don't want to draw your eye over there. I like for your eye to focus in on this barn. Okay, folks, I think that's pretty good. Take a second, clean out some brushes here, get ready for some work on the barn. And get my little flats cleaned out. Those flats are good for architectural buildings. The filberts are good for trees and bushes and that sort of stuff. The flat brushes are good for getting nice. You saw how nice I got some nice good square edges going around there. So I've got two flats and I got 3 filberts. So I may have to use the filberts for a little more than I did, but okay. Ready to go again here. So this barn is actually facing the sun, so I want these sides to be lighter than this side, even though the photograph I'm looking at, it's the other way around. But I will have the top of this barn is sort of a grayish color, and I want to have a little bit of a mixture of this light in here. Let me see if I can get this laid in. Pick up a little more white, lighten it up a little bit. Okay. I don't know if you can hear it, but I think we're having a rainstorm around here. Yes, we are having a kind of a heavy-duty rainstorm right now. Hopefully it doesn't knock our power out, knock my cameras out. All right, so this barn now has, I just dropped my brush into a bunch of paint here. Excuse me while I clean this thing off. Okay. All right, so I've got some gray here, and I've got put a little bit of that sky color in it, a little bit, and I'm just sort of laying in this roof. It's got some grays and putting in a little purple here and there. Purple's almost too light. Yeah, that's okay. Really kind of hard to see that. It doesn't stand out all that well, but with the dark I'll be putting some other calligraphy marks in there. Pull this down like that. Nice two-tone color out of that. This little roof over here is sort of the same color. I'm going to make it sort of the same purple here. And maybe this one back here the same way. All right. Let's see. Okay. Looks pretty good. Take my script liner here and see if I can put just a few indications here to help identify this. Like that. There's another line that goes across here. Okay, now you're starting to see some of the edge of that barn. I have a part that sticks out here like this little place where they hook up pulleys to raise stuff up into the loft. It's a little hard to see that. Darker, darker, darker. Okay, that little point like that says barn. Okay, so now we've got some other areas over here. I'm going to start with my little flat brush. Front of this barn is sort of a reddish rust color, so I'll see if I can pick that up and get it to look more rusty with the dark sienna and some of this red that I got in my palette here. Let's see what we can do here. Well, I got a lot of paint in that brush. Which is probably good. I need to put more paint on my brushes. So I'm using dark sienna, some of this red color. This is really an old barn and it's kind of beat up. Certainly painting it like this makes it look better than it is. This barn was near Hamilton, Montana, interestingly enough, my last name. We stayed in a cabin that was actually in Hamilton, Montana, and this cabin was like right down the road. Okay. So I'm mixing in some darker brown. I'm getting some of that Van Dyke brown in there now. Okay, now pick up a little alizarin crimson, maybe change the color a little bit. This area over here, that's a little too much alizarin. Get more dark sienna in there. Okay. I think this other barn back in here, it's not a barn, there's a connecting building here. Connects to the too much paint in my brush here, I gotta get some of that out. Pick up some Van Dyke. Want that to definitely show that it's set back in and it's a different plane. It's almost black now. Okay, that's that. This other area here is really dark. Inside the barn. And let's see here. Clean this little guy out. So there's an area up the top that's in here. I think I'm going to leave it open as well. It's not open in the photograph, but I think I'd like to have this little opening up there like that. And then here is a red door that's sort of beat up. Okay, so that'll give me a little color distinction. Here, this is, actually it's really dark and stuff underneath there. But I think it's mostly, it's like bars, something through there. Okay, let's take this and move on down over here. I want to get a very different color if I can. So I'm just popping in the over here, same way. Okay, now this roof is actually has a, I don't know what color that is. It's a brownish greenish color. I guess you'd call it a moss-covered roof. So I'm going to try to make that look more mossy and brownish. Okay, this has got some dirt on it over here. I'll make that so it's kind of obvious, and it has a dark bottom base on it right here. There, and this one has almost a red base on him right here. Okay, and then it has to be a little darker back here. All right, does that look like two buildings that are intersecting there? Put a little more detail on here, something like that. A little bit of a shadow. If I can get a shadow out of it. Shadow over here. Okay, and then got some. All right, so now you're seeing a little bit of some of the marks that sort of tell you what's going on these roofs. Okay. Now, just about got most of that barn done. I think I'm going to put in a light coat of, not that, I'm going to use this brush. A bit of this lavender color here, under here, cover up my canvas. And I'll come back over that in a minute and put some fence posts and things that cover it up. Okay, so what I got for grass and stuff here, I've got a bunch of grassy areas here that have to be sort of blended and merged into the sap green, cad yellow, maybe a little bit of ochre. Got some brown, got some ochre, cad yellow. And we have a lot of that grass that's in the foreground here. It's a pretty good sized foreground. Let's see here. Has to be brighter than that. I'm going to pick up my bigger brush, get some yellows in it, sort of just swish some stuff in here. It's almost too green, bright. A lot of green, too much green. I'm going to gray that green down. You put a little red color or some sort reddish color will gray the green down so it's not quite as bold and distinct. Do that with your trees too. If those trees are too bold and too distinct back there, put a little bit of some red, either like dark sienna or alizarin or cad red or something in there, and you'll just start, gray that down so it's not nearly as bold and distinct as the green is. Sometimes paintings with too much green they're hard to paint for one thing, they're hard to make look realistic. So I got a big green foreground in here. But I'm not painting it all green, if you noticed. The field's got a lot of stuff in it, a lot of weeds and a lot of flowers and stuff sticking up here. So this foreground is going to have this greenish color to it, and I'm going to try to make it so bland that your eye doesn't spend a lot of time here. I want to try to weave you back into the painting with some of these zigzag strokes here that sort of help draw the eye back to the focal point. You may not think about that, but that's kind of how artists will put things in the painting to draw your eye back there. Kind of walk you back in the painting. I have another fence post here in the foreground. There are actually a bunch of fence posts in here that I can put in that I haven't got to yet, but so that really puts a base color in that foreground. And now let me step back and look at that for a few minutes, a couple minutes anyway. So the background looks very busy with those different color changes. The barn is sticking out okay. It's pretty clear that's the focal point. But I have a lot of these really dark areas here that I think are a little bit too much. Now, I might ruin it. Can you hear that rain? It's coming down here, a little heavy. So I'm just sort of kind of bleed some of these out so they're not quite as distinct as they were. Nice rain on a fall day. Over here particularly, I don't want them to stand out on the perimeters. The perimeters definitely need to be blended so there's not a lot of distinct contrast, color change. The area around the border around the painting, you kind of want to make those so they're not so obvious that your eye goes over there. The eye typically goes from the lightest light to the darkest dark when you see something. So I want your eye to go right there, the lightest light to the darkest dark in this area. So if I keep that as the lightest light and darkest dark, when you look at this painting, that's where your eye should go, hopefully. A few more colors in here. Okay, so I think I've toned that down just a little. As I look at it now from a distance, it's not quite as distinct. I do have one here that still looks a little bit too dark to me. You may not like this, you may want to do yours a little differently, but I'm trying to control the eye. I'm reacting more to the painting now than I am the photograph. There's a nice big blob. At some point you stop looking at the photograph and you start looking at the painting and say, what does this painting need? And usually it has something to do with darks not being dark enough or the eye not going where you want it to go. And so that's sort of the idea here. Okay, now I think might be ready to start on some fence posts. I may bore you with fence posts. There's a bunch of them here. I don't know if I'm going to put them all in or not, but I'm going to see what happens here. Let's get some, I want some mixture in my brush. I want a mixture of white and this dark Van Dyke brown. And maybe a little bit of dark sienna, I don't know. But if I have, let's see here, I'm going to start right in this area here. They sort of cover. To be lighter. I'm painting over something here that's lighter. I gotta have my so I'm getting fence posts in. That hopefully are going to be able to see those. Make them a little longer. There's have cross beams on there that I have to paint. So I have to have these fence posts either have to be darker than what's behind them or lighter than what's behind them. So you'll see me mixing it up. Sometimes they'll be darker, sometimes they'll be lighter. If I have any color on them at all, or any lightness on them. I want the lightness to be on the right side if I can make it work that way, because the sun is shining from the right. So one way to do that is to sort of double load your brush and put it down with the dark on one side and the light on the other. Put another little light area here. White, white, white. So I'm just sort of hitting it here with the brush and just letting it go where it will, and even leaving a little bit of a messy looking fence post there, which shouldn't be. I should clean it up a little bit. Over here the paint is drier. What's interesting is that when I put these in, I don't have to put every one of them in. If I just put a few in, your eye will make that connection that these are fence posts going all the way off the page over here. So okay, they actually come over here and continue on. Making them come out a little bit. They're actually coming down this way, a little further away. I'm kind of trying to give room for that barn so I can actually paint some more in there without having to overlap these fence posts. They're so a whole bunch of fence posts here. These are too bright over here. I need to make them darker. When I stop talking, I'm usually thinking, using my right brain. Okay, a few more over here. Let's just run this out like this. Come back and just tap in some. Something like that. And there's even some more back here that put in. Sort of like fence this area in for the cows or whatever, horses maybe, I don't know. There were more cows out here in Montana where we were than there were horses, but there were horses. Around. All right, that looks somewhat abstract, and okay, something like that. Too much over here. All right, now there were a few more. This area here under this little shed extension, there were and they went this way as well. They had It's sort of like a pin for horses or something like that. Okay, doesn't look rough enough. Areas that need to have some more dark or scumbling. Areas here. See what this does. Okay. See that barn a little bit. I hit this one here. A little more. See if how that looking on video. Using this small, man, this is a number 4 flat. Okay, I have another couple of fence posts out here that I had in the sketch, so I want to, they're like a big one right here, like this. And he's got a couple of posts that go this way, like that. Kind of goes off the chart here. Don't have to do much more than that. And let's see here, I'm getting close to finishing up. I think I want to put in some things that look like weeds and flowers. I'm going to get my little fan brush out here and try that. See if I can get in some grasses, things that look like grasses here. Pick up some of my greens and yellows maybe. Fan brush and just see if I can flick in some now this is one of the ways I can help move your eye. If I give you a little zigzag path to kind of follow here, your eye will start moving up that way. Just almost pure cad yellow with this fan brush and just sort of flicking in some of these grasses. I'm going to put some ochres in now. So if I can give you some movement here. How about some stuff around the bottom of these posts here? They should have some. I want those posts to be embedded in the ground. I don't want them to look like they're stuck on, so I'm going to come back here and touch in just a few spots to sort of blend that together. These kind of look like they're stuck on. So if you make the bottoms of them sort of blurry and make them okay, maybe some darks, pick up some browns. I actually want this on the right side to be a little darker anyway. I want to put some darker shadows in here to make it look like there's some sort of a shadow. I want to close this bottom in. Okay, now we can come back and just do some calligraphy type stuff. Put in a few little things here that might look like they belong. I got my script liner now, and I'm getting a lot of paint in it, a lot of thinner in it actually. And I'm going to start popping in a few of these things that look like little flowers or something here. If it gets too wide or too big, I'll just come back and sort of blend it out again. Yeah, there's a lot of little flowers in this field. White type of flowers. I don't know what they are, what they were. But we'll put a few of those flicks in here and make them obvious that there's some stuff going on back here, maybe a little bit bigger up here. Okay, so this one over here on the left might be a little too gaudy. So when you look at that, where does your eye go? I don't want it to go over here necessarily. I want it to still go there. So as we step back and take a look, I don't want those flowers and those weeds on the left side to be too bright, or you will actually be looking over there, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get you to look at the barn. Okay. So maybe I could tone that down just a little. Okay. I think getting close here. I'm going to put in a few little things that maybe look like there might be some piles of dirt or something here that also helps lead your eye toward the focal point. There's some rocks and stuff over here, I don't know. Put in some nondescript things that look like they could be rocks or any type of stuff here. All right, I'm going to stop before I do too much. I think I want to maybe just do a little more calligraphy here with the, I just messed up the top of my fence post there, didn't I? How do I do that? I have to rewind the tape and look at it. I just did it again. That's how I did it. Well, okay, that's not too bad. Okay, again, I want to make sure these, whatever I flicked in here, are not just like stuck on. I want them to be part of the dirt below. If you're not careful, they look like they've been glued on. I don't want that. All right, script liner brush again. Let's see if I can maybe just put in a little more calligraphy on this barn. Take a few swipes at it with a really thin, a lot of thinner in the brush, a little bit of brown paint. There's actually a track that runs across here like this. And there's another track, I think, even though there's no door, something like that. Maybe there's a little window in here, I don't know. What else can I fix here? Pretty dark shadow up here. tell the story that it's in shadow. Yeah, there's a lot of, it's like paint peeling off of this building and stuff. I'm not going to try to mimic all that. I'd go drive myself crazy if I did all that. But anyway, I think I'm getting pretty happy with that. I think I will see if the clouds need anything else. I think they're pretty well done. Okay, folks, let me take a few seconds and block print my name over here, and I'll be done. Right in here. Couple more. Darker. Okay. There we go. Sorry I couldn't broadcast to you live today, but that's what happens when you have to rely on computers for a lot of things. So I think I'm going to stop now and say thank you for watching. Be sure to check out my other videos on this channel. Check out my playlists. I have 30 plus videos in oils and 30 plus videos in watercolors. And so I think check my Facebook page as well. And I usually put things on Facebook page pretty regularly. And I think until I see you again, this is Larry Hamilton saying so long for now. Goodbye.